Oke, exciting for today. Sebentar lagi kita akan memasuki sesi panel 6 yang berjudul Cross-Cultural Religious Literacy for an Inclusive and Cohesive ASEAN Community. Dan kami mengundang para narasumber yang hebat untuk naik ke panggung dan mempersilahkan untuk duduk di kursi yang telah kami sediakan. Kami panggilkan Miss Yuliana Bahar, His Excellency La Viseis, Dr. Aldrin M. Peñamora, Bapak Adam Hamzah S. dan Dr. Tran Phuong. Kami persilahkan untuk ke panggung dan menempati tempat duduk yang telah tersedia. Dan kami panggil moderator hari ini untuk memandu sesi yaitu Ibu Yuyun Wahyuningrum, International Institute of Social Studies ISS of Erasmus University Rotterdam. Ya, kita berikan tepuk tangan yang meriah untuk panel 6 para narasumber dan moderator. Terima kasih.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu sudah bertahan sampai sesi terakhir hari ini. Sudah 2 hari ini kita membicarakan tentang cross-cultural religious literacy. Dari kemarin kita sudah bicara tentang LKLB di tingkat nasional, internasional. Sekarang kita akan berdiskusi mengenai konsep ini di kawasan ASEAN. Kemarin Pak Matiuso juga sudah mempresentasikan bahwa konsep ini sudah masuk ke dalam blueprint 2045. Jadi sekarang bagaimana kita bisa mendiskusikannya lebih jauh. Kita berbahagia bahwa semua pembicara sudah hadir bersama kita. Saya akan membacakan nama pembicara kita. Ibu Yuliana Bahar, Director of ASEAN Socio-Cultural Cooperation, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia. His Excellency La Viseis, Undersecretary of State, Ministry of Cult and Religion, Kingdom of Cambodia. Dr. Aldrin M. Peñamora, Executive Director, PCEC, Justice, Peace and Reconciliation Commission, and Center of the Study of Christian-Muslim Relations, the Philippines. Bapak Adam Hamzah, Senior Deputy Director, Community Engagement, Ministry of Culture, Community and Youth, Singapore. Dr. Tran Phuong, Lecturer, Institute of Ethnicity and Religions, Ho Chi Minh National Academy of Politics. Untuk mengingatkan Bapak Ibu sekalian akan tujuan dari sesi ini adalah panel ini berfokus pada peluang dan tantangan penerapan pendekatan cross-cultural religious literacy di lingkungan komunitas ASEAN yang dapat mendorong kolaborasi lintas agama dan lintas budaya guna memelihara serta memperkuat perdamaian, keamanan, dan stabilitas di kawasan ASEAN. Diskusi ini juga akan menyoroti bagaimana pendekatan tersebut dapat berkontribusi dalam memperkuat nilai-nilai yang berorientasi pada perdamaian serta memajukan identitas bersama di ASEAN. Jadi tanpa berpanjang lebar lagi, saya ingin mempersilahkan Ibu Yuliana Bahar untuk memulai presentasi. Masing-masing pembicara memiliki waktu 7 menit. Mudah-mudahan semuanya bisa tepat waktu sehingga ada waktu buat kita untuk diskusi lebih lanjut mengenai cross-cultural religious literacy di ASEAN. Ibu Yuliana 7 menit, Bu.
Oh, it's on. Okay, all right. Thank you, Ibu Yuyun. Well, without beating about the bush. Sorry. So today's world is ever interconnected, but can potentially be divided. And ASEAN can serve as a beacon of or to show what possible can be achieved if culture of tolerance is something or the principle that define who we are in the region. And also us in the region embrace diversity as our strength. And this is also the principle that embodies the process in the ASEAN Community Vision 2045, where we are committed towards an inclusive, resilient, sustainable, and a people-centered ASEAN. And the vision calls for ASEAN, for ASEAN community that uphold human rights, social justice, and really respect for cultural and religious diversities. And this is our commitment to ensure that peace and progress rest in the foundation of human dignity, mutual understanding and respect, and a shared tradition of tolerance. Diversity is ASEAN's strength. All of us in the region know that. And respect for diversity is key to maintain stability in our region. But however, we remain cautious that misunderstanding and prejudice, especially fueled by identity-based division, may compromise our strength. And this is where the cross-cultural and interreligious or cross-religious literacy intersect with the security dimension in our community. First, in conflict prevention. Misinformation fueled by a lack of understanding of diverse faith and beliefs in the region can be weaponized to sow discord and to radicalize the population. And this is where the cross-cultural and religious literacy can serve as counter-narrative by saying cross-cultural and religious literacy. I mean the ability to appreciate and engage with different belief system respectfully. And the second one is the role of CCRL, or cross-cultural and religious literacy in diplomacy. To help employ peaceful dispute resolution and adherent to ASEAN's Treaty of Amity and contribute to the implementation of ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific, we need to build strategic trust and mutual respect. And building strategic trust, I believe, is one of the key messages delivered by Indonesia's Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs, Pak Armanata Nasir, last night during the welcoming dinner. And further, we need to equip ourselves with a deep understanding of the diverse socio-cultural landscape of others. And these can be really useful tools for us in conducting diplomacy. And I think Indonesia's philosophy of Bhinneka Tunggal Ika really embodies this principle, because we believe that our internal cohesion and inclusivity is actually key for our external security. And not only in the political pillar, in the ASEAN socio-cultural pillar as well, we believe that enduring stability rests in the mind and hearts of the people. And that's why a lot of work in the socio-cultural pillar of ASEAN community put focus on how to strengthen culture of tolerance and respect for differences and diversity in the region, especially through the work of the Working Group of Culture on Prevention and also in the ASEAN Social Education Sectoral Body. In a polarized world, ASEAN needs to prove and can prove that harmony and amid diversity is actually achievable. But sustaining harmony demands education, open and inclusive dialogue, and awareness that actively nurture the culture of tolerance. And this is where CCRL can become operational tools. And our understanding in the region is CCRL is not about theology. It's about building bridges and not walls. And it becomes ASEAN's essential tools for peaceful coexistence and it's essential as well for the preservation of ASEAN's tradition and culture of tolerance. And Indonesia is among the forefront in the region in this regard. One of our flagship programs is ASEAN Youth Interfaith Camp, regularly organized by Indonesia's Ministry of Sport and Youth. And distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, plurality is never a weakness to manage, but it is a strength to fortify. It is a richness to celebrate. Our region's diversity is the wellspring of creativity, resilience, and collective wisdom. And this is in line as well with what is underlined in the narrative of ASEAN Identity officially launched in 2020. ASEAN Identity is not about uniformity. ASEAN Identity is about finding unity in diversity. It's about upholding harmony, respect, and tolerance amid differences. Our identity is about culture of prevention, and that really defines who we are as a community, as a region. But of course, it is not without challenge, especially in the digital era where misinformation and hate speech often exploit a lack of cultural understanding. Fostering religious literacy must also involve digital literacy, equipping citizens to refuse the manipulation of identity narratives. And I think knowing that our region is one of the regions in the world with the youth who is techno-savvy can be very beneficial for our work in this regard. Just the closing, if you don't mind. So the success of the implementation of ASEAN Community Vision 2045, especially when it comes to bringing inclusivity and cohesion, really depends on our moral fabric, on how we uphold respect, harmony, and compassion. And with that, let us commit to deepening religious and cultural literacy as tool of conflict prevention, cultivating our tolerance, and reinforce trust and social cohesion, and empower education and digital literacy as the heart of our understanding. And I believe that only by doing this, that we can really lift up what it truly means of being ASEAN as one vision, one identity, one community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Yuliana Bahar. If you were here since yesterday, we have been hearing similar call, and I think what Ibu Yuliana Bahar has been calling for the same thing, confirming of what we have been hearing since yesterday. Diversity is our strength rather than the challenge. That's repetitively mentioned by the speakers since yesterday. Thank you, Ibu Yuliana. Now I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Viseis. I'm so sorry, I'm in English.
No, I need to stand at the podium. It's more relaxed.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Minta maaf, seharusnya saya bahasa Indonesia.
Hello. I think I prefer standing at the podium. I feel more relaxed and then speak more freely. Good afternoon, distinguished participants, and thanks to my fellow panelists. Today I'm very honored to be invited to attend this international conference as well as to deliver a speech concerning cross-cultural literacy, religious literacy in the context of ASEAN, especially referring to the vision, the 2045 vision of ASEAN, our shared future. Since this is a very new concept to me as a Cambodian, I prefer going a bit in detail about the CCRL first before I move into Cambodian context and the Cambodia preparedness for the ASEAN inclusivity and cohesion. Okay, here's the agenda that I'm going to look at first. As I already mentioned, Association of Southern, Inclusivity and Cohesion in ASEAN, Challenges for ASEAN, and what is cross-cultural literacy, which I prefer to mention a little bit, and why CCR is very critical for inclusivity and cohesion, and then CL for Cambodia, and with my concluding remarks. Here, as you see that we have now 11 nations as the ASEAN members, and more than 770 million population, and with the motto that already mentioned, one vision, one identity, and one caring and sharing community. And this anchored by ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community, which I call it ASCC. And this region is a very diverse religiously population in the world, hosting major global faiths, ranging from Islam dominant nation Indonesia and Malaysia to Buddhism dominant Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar to Christianity dominant like Philippines, and the new member state is Timor. And as you see that we are the diverse most diverse religious region, but it is not just only this a weakness, but it is a strength for us, because these faces exist together here. As you can see from the chart here, the Islam is account around 40%, Buddhism around 28%, and the Christianity 24%, and other like religious like Hinduism, Phuongism, and other traditional belief is around 6%. And why inclusivity, what is inclusivity and cohesion in ASEAN? As you can see here, we already have a SCC that I mentioned earlier, that this is to specifically ensure that all the people, regardless of ground, ethnicity, identity, or belief, are integral part and benefit from the regional community. And cohesion here in ASEAN refer to the political, economic, and social-cultural convergence. And so, as you can see from the ASEAN Charter, especially respect for the differences, culture, languages, and religions of the people of ASEAN. And what is the challenges for ASEAN? As you see that is the population, and because of the diversity of the belief and religions, we can see that this is a religious pluralism, which is profound heterogeneity in the ASEAN. And on top of that, individual member state, only a few countries that is what we call heterogeneity. For example, very well diverse like Singapore, but the rest and the more religious homogeneity of the individual state. And the capacity of the citizen of the individual member state, just right now, as far as I understand, they just only have what we call only the understanding of the factual knowledge of their religion, and how we move it from that conventional knowledge of the religions to the CCRL, which is a very modern concept that involves 3 different branches. And another thing that is also, I should emphasize here, is about the concern over the religious expansion for the homogeneity religions in the individual state. Sorry, you wanna? Oh, sorry. Can I go back? Sorry, what's wrong? Can I try to go back, please? Nicole can help me. Yeah, and why is CCR is critical? Okay, because this is involved the understanding of the CCR, and then it move to the empathy, and which can cultivate the empathy, and through the inclusivity and the trust, we can build cohesion. Like I mentioned here, CCR cultivate understanding and leads to the empathy, and then build the trust through inclusivity, and finally, we can have a cohesion. And we look at the Cambodia here, it's a Buddhism majority country, which is 90% of the population is Buddhist, and Buddhism is a state religion which is enshrined in Article 43 of the Constitution, and it's guarantee the freedom of its belief and religions. And as I can see here, Cambodia is frequently cited as the country having good harmonies, religious harmony. But this is based on what we call here, I mentioned it, covenantal pluralism, and also heavily reliant on the good acceptance and tolerance of the Buddhism. And as other minorities religions in Cambodia, we have like Muslim, Christianity. Muslim is around 4%, and other minority religions and belief is less than 1%. And here is for Cambodia. You can see that, as I mentioned, that is now we have a societal harmony, and what we're trying to build is what is social trust, and going to from that we would like to go reach societal cohesion, which is a very basic element for the inclusivity and cohesion in the ASEAN context. Here, moving from a mere acceptance and tolerance to actual and cross-cultural engagement. This is what the Cambodia should prepare for themselves to move forward. And moving from the current status societal harmony that I mentioned earlier, that is right now we have a good religious harmony, but this is based on passive tolerances of the Buddhism, and building its societal cohesion so that ready for extension to the ASEAN context, and needing to implement more there's at least sometimes CCRL and covenantal pluralism, which is based on the legal framework that exists in Cambodia right now. And we have to balancing between the freedom and extremism, so just to avoid the problem on the brackets of the society. And so I come to the concluding remarks. I have 5 points that I would like to raise here. First, CRL is relatively new, but largely acceptable among the ASEAN member states. But CR need investment. As you can see that we invest in education and digital technologies, and also from various stakeholders too. And this implementation in incorporating into the policy, not just only at the national level, at the regional level, that I would like to see. Especially, we also have the blueprint at 2045 of the ASEAN, which is, will become a concrete document that is to be implemented. And CR require time and concerted effort of the all ASEAN member states. And CR should be additional to, not replacing what we call covenantal pluralism, though this model not to be over or under regulated. And CR need implementing in through the targeted educational reform, media responsibility, and grassroots interfaces mechanism. This is all what I would like to raise here, and what I can see that as a country and a member of the ASEAN member state, Cambodia should be prepared for itself. And thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Okun Charan, His Excellency. So the last words that Excellency Viseis is actually quite telling. It gives us instruction. So CCRL can be implemented through educational reform, media responsibility, and grassroots interfaith mechanism. Thank you very much for this. Terima kasih banyak atas paparan ini. Now, sekarang saya ingin mengundang Bapak Aldrin Peñamora to give the presentation, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. Your Excellencies, good afternoon, and to the distinguished guests and participants of this very important conference. It is a great pleasure to be here among you this past 2 days, and it is my great pleasure to give this presentation to you, which I entitled Evangelical Christian Peacemaking Journey in the Bangsamoro. And this is a perspective from the evangelical Christian tradition where I'm coming from. I'm not saying that this journey only involves our evangelical Christian group, but it is from our perspective, but it is truly interfaith in nature. The passage, love your neighbor as yourself, is quite crucial or very relevant to CCRL, as I will show. And for it involves first having your personal competency and then comparative competency, which involves the other. Well, my focus will be on the Philippine situation, particularly on how CCRL is relevant as we navigated and negotiated the conflict in the Bangsamoro region or in Muslim Mindanao. And perhaps like many Filipinos, I was, I grew up and sort of had that strong prejudice toward the Muslims because, as you will see here, even centuries back, as one historian said, when the Spaniards came to the Philippines, they already had that prejudice against the Muslims because they were fighting the Muslims in Spain, and when they came to the Philippines, they already had this idea that they are the enemies, and it sort of led to this colonization of the Philippines by Spanish, by Americans, and neocolonialism led to the denigration of the identities of the natives, and it divided the natives, the Filipinos, into two hostile camps, the Muslims and the Indios, or the Filipino Christians. Also, this led to colonization, led to the political and social economic marginalization of Muslims in the Philippines, which led to this long-standing conflict and prejudice toward each other, actually, and which is still very much present today. Let me just show you this, that in the Philippines, Christianity is a majority religion, and as you can see here, there's 6% Muslims, although there's a higher figure coming from the government, but majority definitely is, it's Christians. And for many years now, I think since 1970s, this is the figure. I won't go through it, but you can see the amount of destruction in properties and human lives that the insurgency in the Philippines led to, the cost of war, so that presently we don't have this kind of war anymore because of the peace process that has happened in the Philippines. But what I want to say is that even right now, the prejudice against each other, it's still present. And so I, as a peace builder, when I go to the grassroots, to the churches, and this is where I really am coming from. I'm coming from the faith tradition of the churches and Bible schools. So when I talk about peace building with the Muslims, I could just sense the prejudice and sometimes even the anger. Why would you do that as an evangelical? Now, loving oneself, which is personal competence in terms of the CCRL, means for me, it's loving oneself or understanding oneself means knowing deeply the teachings and practices of our own faith. So especially, when it comes to how we relate to our neighbors or to the others. And I would really like to appreciate that CCRL is pretty much contextual, that, there's no definite shape, but it's adjustable. You can shape it according to your context. And in the Philippines, kapwa is one very important concept that means looking at the other like yourself. And this requires, for us, for the Christians or the majority in the Philippines, it means acknowledging also the failings of our own faith tradition. For example, in history, Christianity has had so many failings, the Crusades, World War II, and so on and so forth, slavery. And this is something that I teach to my students and even to the churches. And to, when I have peacemaking seminars with Christians. I'll just go through some because of the time. And Hannah Arendt actually talked about political forgiveness, that political forgiveness is so important because she said without being forgiven or released from the consequences of what we have done, our capacity to act would, as it were, be confined to one single deed, and that we would remain victims of its consequences forever. So forgiveness of what has happened is truly important, and this is something that I really emphasize in our peace-building seminars, that we need to forgive and to ask forgiveness for things that we have done to the other. And this is one forum where we asked forgiveness to a Muslim leader, and the Muslim leader, and I know my friends here know him, Professor Munir Bajunaid, the late, a good friend of mine, and he truly appreciated that we recognized our failings as a tradition toward the Muslims. Also, for comparative competence, it means spending time with the self-other. This is our meeting with former MILF, the MILF chairman, or the former chief minister of the Bangsamoro region. And here we were spending time and just talking to each other about the strengths of our tradition and how we could build peace together. And also comparative competence, which means walking together and means creating together a vision of the common good. This means even defending and advocating the good of the other, or what I call the kapwa, or the self-other. And by that, I mean that we had this partnership. So this is the chairman of the MILF, the former rebel group. And we were hammering a peace agreement, and we signed a memorandum of agreement during this day, which still is in effect. And that also it means advocating for what the other is, what's important with the other. Here, this was a campaign for the autonomous region, and some of my friend pastors, we campaigned for the autonomy of the Muslim, for our Muslim brothers and sisters, even though many evangelicals were actually against what we were doing. And here, just a few seconds, we were advocating for the return of the displaced residents of the Marawi siege, if you know about that, where thousands of Muslims were displaced. So here we were advocating for the return of those residents. And finally, because of that event where so many Muslims were displaced because of the war, we also, our evangelical group, we raised funds and created, right now there are 120 houses like that. We gave, the Muslim, the displaced Muslims are living there, also administered by Muslims. And for us, this means cooperating, personal competence, cooperating with the other, and, these competencies really need to be grounded, it needs to be concrete, and it needs to be felt by the other. So thank you.
Thank you very much, maraming salaman po. Jadi hidup harmoni itu harus diusahakan. Itu yang terlihat tadi dari presentasi dari Bapak Aldrin. Sekarang saya ingin memanggil Bapak Adam Hamzah dari Singapura.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat petang, salam sejahtera. Biar saya berikan paparan dalam bahasa Inggris, karena bahasa Inggris adalah bahasa komunikasi di Singapura. It is my pleasure to join all of you at this international gathering on cross-cultural religious literacy and share Singapore's journey in building an inclusive and cohesive society. Thank you to Leimena Institute for inviting me to this conference. Singapore's story begins with a fundamental recognition multiculturalism is not merely part of our national narrative, it is woven into our very DNA. It defines how we live together and how we imagine our shared future. Singapore's remarkable diversity springs from something profound. Our shared commitment to build a home where everyone has the freedom to choose and practice their religion, provided the same freedom is afforded to others. This is important to us because Singapore, all the world's major religions are present here, and we are one of the world's most religiously diverse countries, as you can see in the data. Multiculturalism has become integral to our Singapore identity. We want a society where Singaporeans, regardless of background, feel they are equal members of the same community. This social compact allows us to broaden our common space even as our society becomes more diverse. We have built a strong foundation on social cohesion in Singapore, but this not happened by accident. We learned it the hard way through communal riots in our formative years in the 50s and in the 60s. This led to our founding Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, during the independence of Singapore. He declared we are going to have a multiracial nation in Singapore, not a Malay nation, not a Chinese nation, not an Indian nation. And everybody will have his place equal, language, culture, and religion. We work with communities from at the highest level, the National Steering Committee on Racial and Religious Harmony. These are all the religious leaders who meet regularly to discuss about religious and racial harmony. At the grassroots, we have the Harmony Circle, or what we call the Bulatan Harmony. These are kumpulan sukarelawan di peringkat daerah. Anggotanya semua adalah ketua agama di daerah. Mereka merupakan anggota Bulatan Harmony ini. The Harmony Circle was formed in 2002 in the aftermath of the 9/11 terror attack to build trust and confidence during times of racial and religious tension. Over the years, they have established invaluable network with religious and community organizations. Each year, the Harmony Circle organizes wide range of activities from interfaith dialogue, social cohesion initiative, to outreach program for those in need. And more importantly, preparedness exercise for time of crisis when our racial and religious harmony are threatened. These efforts strengthen the trust, friendship, and mutual understanding that underpin our social fabric. Their work also shows there are common humanitarian values across all religions and how communities can come together to seek good for the country and all who live in it. Cross-cultural religious literacy must be cultivated in every generation. It was heartening to see our youth take ownership of harmony, proving that the next generation is ready to continue this important mission. Sustaining harmony remains an ongoing challenge in our rapidly changing world. Globalization has increased our connectedness with foreign culture and communities. Social media has transformed communication. Hate speech, violence driven by personal belief and faith are rising. We face heightened polarization that tests our social fabric resilience. Last year, we conducted Peace and Harmony Dialogue organized by our Harmony Circle, bringing together religious and community leaders and students to share insight about peace and understanding. It was a special moment to see religious leaders from different faiths standing side by side, praying for peace in the Middle East. Hence, we continue to foster dialogue and collaboration in building cohesive society, strengthening the quality of our conversation, relationship, and practices. Singapore held the International Conference on Cohesive Society in June this year. This is our third edition, and it brings 1,000 thought leaders from 40 countries each time, including 100 youth leaders to discuss multiculturalism, share challenges to social cohesion and interfaith harmony. We are glad that Mr. Matthias Ho from Leimena Institute could speak at ICCS this year and share about very important work to raise up generation of teachers and students equipped to build relationship and strengthen harmony across culture. In closing, let us continue to work hand in hand across faith, communities, and nations to build society rooted in respect, empathy, and hope. Because when we choose harmony, we not only secure our shared future, but also promote a common ASEAN identity. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Pak Adam atas presentasinya yang menginspirasi. Sekarang saya ingin mengundang Dr. Tran Phuong untuk menyampaikan presentasinya dalam 7 menit.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, brothers and sisters, I would like to send my deepest appreciation of being here today for the opportunities to share Vietnamese perspective on CCRL. My colleague Dr. Phạm Hằng and I from the Academy of Politics in Vietnam. Our academy entrusted with 3 core responsibilities: conducting scientific research, providing policy consultation to the government of Vietnam, and most importantly, delivering comprehensive training and refresher courses for middle and high-ranking officials. This training program is compulsory for any officials in Vietnam, government officials in Vietnam. And it has a 9 months length if they study full time. And if they choose to study part-time, it's 18 months. And they have to pass 19 subjects, 2 of which focus directly on ethnicity and religion. With this mandate, our institute, as Institute of Ethnicity and Religion, continuously seeks to learn from international expertise. Over the past 8 years, we closely collaborate with Institute for Global Engagement and International Center for Law and Religion Studies at Brigham Young University to implement RROL, Religion and Rule of Law Certificate Training in Vietnam. This is one of the pictures of our certificate training. We also have religious leaders visit other religious mosques or church. You can see the Buddhist nuns and monks visit the Muslim mosques. And thanks to that opportunities, we have a chance to invite Matthias Hall to come over and train our officials and our faculties. Matthias Hall, he trained us really well. He trained us really well on Pankasila. And we have to say that we are proud that we are well educated on Pankasila. Yes. Yes, at that time we saw CCRL actually as a model of, CCRL as a model of compelling reference, inspiring case study, but perhaps not something that we could be directly implement in Vietnam. However, in 2023, the former director and deputy director and I had the privilege to participate in the CCRL conference right here in Jakarta. In the similar room like this, with the similar atmosphere like this, we listen to stories of brothers and sisters, the scholars in Indonesia, the government officials, and therefore their honest reflection, their struggles, and their unwavering commitment to peace and understanding left a powerful impression on us. Then we return home. We have a crucial question for us. Could a CCRL model be adopted for Vietnam? Before that, we do our own homework, which is we learn about CCRL. Once again, we publish an article about CCRL in our most prestigious journal in Vietnam, which is the Journal of Religious Work. we keep asking us the question, is CCRL feasible in Vietnam? And we have some rationale that we come up with. Firstly, Vietnam has a diversity in religion. We still behind Singapore. Yes. However, we think that for now we don't have any war or conflict on religion, but it doesn't mean that we never ever have it. So in the future. So that's why we think of the prevention is better than we tried is better. So CCRL as a model for Vietnam to learn. And however, we need to tailor it in our context, which equips local officials with deeper understanding of religious policy, stronger dialogue skills, more inclusive approach to community relations. Such a program would help to ensure the government engagement with religious community remains respectful, informed, and conducive to peace. With that goal in mind, in May 2025, delegation of Vietnam and professor traveled to Indonesia for a CCRL study visit. The experience confirmed that we had hoped that CCRL is not merely an idea, but a practical, effective model that can inspire adoption in Vietnam. I'm very happy to see some brother and sister met my colleague on this May field trip. Thank you for telling us about the experience. September 2025. We have our pilot program in Vietnam. The program brought together representation from various religious organizations, leading scholars, civil servants, members of Government Committee for Religious Affairs, respected religious dignitaries, and members from the military. The content was rich, the discussion was sincere, the mutual respect was great, but we have only one challenge and only one bad thing that we made, which is timekeeping. I know you did it really well in Jakarta, but it was really bad in Hanoi at that time. Every session ran longer than planned, not because of delays, but because of participants refused to let the conversation end. Their endless curiosity and enthusiasm demonstrate that CCRL truly responds to the real needs and real aspiration in Vietnam. And please allow me to share you a story behind the scene. Ladies and gentlemen, during our 2 days of pilots in Hanoi experienced torrential rain flooding on a scale that we had never ever seen since 2008. Yet participants continue to arrive with umbrellas in hand. And here's a member of Leimena Institute, member of our institute, and our distinguished guests. They don't have their shoes on their feet. And we need to be very creative on getting all the sandals and with umbrellas. So I think this is a goal for us to achieve for ASEAN, resilient with climate change, innovative, dynamic, and people always centered. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very interesting story. Yes, that's how ASEAN is. Natural disaster is always our friend. All right, so we have 15 minutes for question and answer. I would like to open for the question and answer session. Two person can ask question at the moment. I would like to check whether we have someone. We have hand here, one. And over here, yes, Ibu. So, Bapak, silakan Pak. Aduh, maaf, bahasa Inggris terus. Tolong mic-nya, ya. Tolong pertanyaannya singkat, sebutkan nama Bapak, dan kepada siapa, panelis yang mana Bapak ingin pertanyaannya dijawab.
Baik, nama saya Sarifudin dari Kebumen, Jawa Tengah. Yang ingin saya tanyakan kepada perwakilan Vietnam dan juga perwakilan Kamboja. Dalam literasi keagamaan dan lintas budaya, tentunya kalau di kami Institut Leimena, saya selaku alumni, itu sudah melaksanakan di tingkat paling bawah dan aksi nyata. Lalu yang akan saya pertanyakan, perlakuan seperti apa kepada penganut agama yang ini tentunya ada yang paling kecil dan juga ada yang lebih besar. Perlakuan yang penganut agama yang lebih kecil itu dari negara Anda, dari Kamboja dan Vietnam itu seperti apa? Kemudian haknya yang dilindungi oleh negara itu seperti apa? Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Pak. Pertanyaan yang kedua, silakan Ibu.
Thank you for the chance. My name is Dewi Sartika Romra. I am a teacher of SMA Al-Hilal Ambon from Ambon, Maluku. I would like to ask for His Excellency La Viseis, from the percentage, we face about 42% Muslim became the biggest types of religion in ASEAN than other religions. So my question is, what is the biggest challenging when implementing CCRL and make Muslim or Islam became balanced or have same position with other religion in ASEAN? Thank you.
Jadi ada dua pertanyaan dari dua penanya. Ada dua pertanyaan yang ditujukan kepada Excellency La Viseis dan satu pertanyaan untuk Vietnam. Namun demikian apabila panelis ingin menjawab beberapa pertanyaan yang sekiranya relevan, dipersilakan. Boleh, can I start with Vietnam?
Yeah, so if I get it right, it is about religious minorities protection in Vietnam. Thank you for the questions. I think you addressed a correct problem in Vietnam about religious minority protection. Yesterday, I have my colleagues from Philippines also have similar questions about religious minorities protection. So what I ask is about if you can come to Vietnam and see the current situation for religious minorities in Vietnam. In Vietnam, we have 16 religious organizations like protected by the government, and 41 to 43 organizations also like successfully registered with the government. So the government have, of course, the religious law and law and policy to protect the religious organization, and the government also provide land for religious organization to build their own place, their own religious places. And regarding to the right, in our own constitution, we mentioned about the religious freedom, the right for religious freedom, the right for people to have religions or don't have religions. So people in Vietnam are free if they don't have any religions or affiliate with any religion. And if they are religious member, they still can have all the right as the normal citizen has. As a normal citizen have. Thank you.
Terima kasih. Now, His Excellency La Viseis.
Thank you very much for the question. I think I have more questions than the other panelists, and it's good the opportunity to share my understanding as well as to learn from other panelists here too. The first question is regarding to what is the approach that the Cambodia adopt to protect a religious minority in Cambodia. As I already mentioned, that 95% of the population identify Buddhist. and the rest 4% and less than around 0.7% is Christianity, 4% is Islam, and the rest is minority religions. I already mentioned in my presentation that at the moment Cambodia adopt two approaches at the same time. The first one is luckily we have a Buddhism, which I can say is accommodable religions, which means we adopted the middle path. Based on the Dhamma teaching, we have 4 sublime states, very called Brahmahavita, which mean loving kindness, sympathetic joy, compassion, and the last one we call equanimity, which is choose the middle path. We not go to extreme, and we have to balance about the emotion and understand, and about the what we call the empathetic joy. I mean, when we are Buddhists, see the other happy, we are also happy. This is, and also the world is interconnected. We cannot live alone. Harming the other, I mean harming yourself. Harming the environment is harming yourself. This is what from our people who are Buddhists. And on top of that, the leadership of the Cambodia have very clear vision that society cannot flourish without harmony and without the freedom. That's why we guarantee the freedom of belief and religions in our constitution, which is adopted from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as well as the International Covenant on Civil and Politics Rights. So, and come to how we protect this is because we have a preventive measure, and especially the Cambodian government have institutionalized the body to govern it, to act quickly and smoothly. We do not want to have the activity to, from one religion or belief to violate, to disrespect or propagate discrimination against the other belief or religions. Though, as I already mentioned, that we try to regulate, but we do not over-regulate, or we do not let the activity or any other performance unregulated. But we have to balance, again, between freedom and extremism. We welcome the freedom of belief. We guarantee by the law and especially by the constitution. But we do not want to have our society to break down because of the extremist ideologies, which a few persons try to break our society. And come to the second questions concerning that, as you can see that the religion, majority religions in the ASEAN is Islam, and how we are going to implement the CCRL. Because I think, and again, thanks to Mitch's host for initiative to create the CCRL, because the CCRL doesn't mean for the Islam, Buddhism, or Christianity. CCRL is for everybody. Again, this is move from mere passive tolerance, which I can see most of the people are having right now. Even though I can say that Cambodia have a very relatively good religious harmony, but to some extent, to some degree, I don't see the cohesion that I want to see. It doesn't mean that you live side by side. Harmoniously means that you love each other. Sometimes you just go to the house and then you don't know your neighbors. What I want to see as a Cambodian, I want to see everybody interact happily, live side by side happily, not just only go in and go out. You don't have any conflict doesn't mean that you love each other. Even happening in the family too. Sometimes the parents do not talk to the children. The children do not talk to the parents. That's, we can see the society now. Because of the digital age, the people tend to go online. And sometimes even they don't know each other. They listen to the other from outside world, but not listen to their parents. As we heard from our speakers. And so again, I'm quite happy to see this initiative and hope that this will be imported to Cambodia. And already, I believe, I already mentioned again in the presentation, even though this is relatively new concept, but largely acceptable. Thank you.
Kita masih punya 8 menit lagi ternyata. Apakah ada yang mau bertanya lagi? Ya, Ibu. 2 aja ya. Meja yang ini. Ibu yang pakai baju hitam dan yang pakai jilbab. 2 menit aja Ibu pertanyaannya.
Baik, terima kasih. Selamat sore semuanya. Perkenalkan, nama saya Melian, perwakilan dari Majelis Agama Konghucu Indonesia. Menarik sekali pemaparan dan contoh yang disampaikan tadi oleh perwakilan pembicara dari Vietnam. Contohnya sederhana tetapi bermakna akan keberhasilan LKLB di Vietnam. Pertanyaan saya untuk Vietnam dan Kamboja. Di setiap negara pasti memiliki tantangan ya, tapi saya mungkin menghemat waktu untuk Vietnam dan Kamboja. Apa tantangan terbesar dalam membedakan LKLB dari sinkretisme atau sekularisme? Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Ibu. Ada pertanyaan yang buat Filipina, Singapura atau Indonesia? Silakan. Karena ini kita baru dengar ya tentang informasi tentang Kamboja dan Vietnam, jadinya banyak pertanyaan untuk Vietnam dan Kamboja. Silakan Ibu yang pakai jilbab.
Cek. Okay. Selamat sore, nama saya Ina Wulandari dari Yogyakarta. Pertama saya terinspirasi ya tadi karena ada yang berkunjung ke sini kemudian mendapatkan sesuatu. Nah, kira-kira ada nggak ya potensi ke depannya tidak hanya narasumber yang saling berkunjung, tetapi juga peserta mungkin live in atau program-program yang lain begitu. Nah, kemudian untuk pertanyaan, saya dari program ini sangat terkesan dengan penampilan tadi malam terkait dengan nyanyian dari Maluku itu. Nah, saya ingin bertanya bagaimana sih potensi budaya sebagai media untuk menerapkan LKLB di beberapa negara yang tadi disebutkan begitu. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Ini pertanyaan yang terakhir, ini harus dijawab oleh semuanya. Baik, Dr. Tran, you want to answer the first question? The challenges of CCRL in Vietnam.
Yes, thank you for your questions and thank you for all the love to Vietnam. First of all, it's very interesting questions actually about the challenge. The biggest challenge when we have CCRL in a secular state. I think that I mentioned in my presentation that we don't have any religious wall, but we haven't got any religious wall in our society, in our country, in the history. But with the religious diversity, it doesn't mean that we won't have it in the future. So CCRL at first become a kind of idea and also an important even the training for our government officials in order to respond to all the issues in their local places. And when we brief with our president in our academy to say why CCRL is important to Vietnam, I think we didn't have a very great challenge because we have been working with BYU and IGE on religions and rule of law for 8 years already. So when CCRL come, it complement our program in a way that all the government officials need to start with the basic understanding about religions. It doesn't mean they are living in a country with religious diversity. Although we have only 27% of religious affiliated population, but we also have traditional religions. Nearly like 95% of people believe in traditional religion. Therefore, we didn't have a great challenge over here because we all know that religious literacy is very important. And we have 54 ethnic groups in our country as well. So cross-cultural religious literacy makes sense to us. Or maybe, I think Matthias Ho trained us really well on Pancasila. So we didn't even have like any challenge in briefing and proposing on this subject. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. His Excellency, this is the same question for you. What is the challenges of the CCRL in Cambodia?
Hello. Okay, thank you very much. Again, I get another questions. I don't think it is a challenge. The challenge become an opportunity for me to learn and to think ahead before I start doing something, especially importing this CCRL back to Cambodia. At least I have something in mind before I started doing this. The biggest challenge for Cambodia is I think I can learn from it here while we had an informal chat outside the room, that what should I start first? Because here CCRI, he introduced it here, he started his institute, and with the majority religions here first. So in Cambodia, it's the same thing, that we are going to start that one with the majority religion, because we believe that if we can persuade that we start to liberalize, to open up, rather than just make it conservative, and then even we have religious harmony. But to my personal view, CCRL will have the societal harmony and can become the societal cohesion last longer with CCRL. Because this is not just only mere passive tolerance. As I already mentioned again and again, that Buddhism have a very good tolerance. Even we believe in karma. I don't think that only Buddhism, some other religion have a karma, which similar to English idiom like what goes around comes around. It means if you do the good deed, you will reap the good result. But if you do the bad deed, you will receive the consequence. So it is a thing. So when we live together, we do not want to say that one can abuse or disrespect the others. It means like a dignity. So that's why I think you may know that around the world now, they start seeing the Buddhism is one of the religions that can have the practical theory that can bring into the real world, and especially concerning the human dignity. But at the same time, if it is opportunity, it's also the challenge. But how I'm going to persuade the main religions in Cambodia to accept the CCRL, and then see the CCRL is a good concept that will have the societal cohesion in Cambodia last longer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. Pertanyaan untuk peserta saling berbagi itu pertanyaan buat Leimena ya. Saya ingin Bapak Adam Hamzah dan Bapak Dr. Aldrin dan Ibu Yuliana Bahar dalam 1 menit untuk menjawab apa potensi budaya lokal dalam mensukseskan LKLB? What is the role of local culture in the implementation of CCRL? Ibu Yuliana mungkin duluan.
Thank you, Ibu Ina ya, who posed this question. Yeah, from Jogja, Ibu Ina Wulandari, if I'm not mistaken. So the role of local culture is, of course, very important and very strategic. By the end of the day, to a certain degree, every country in the region, they have their own formulation and conception on CCRL. And I think that's the beauty of being us as a community in ASEAN. We don't want to impose a standardized definition or approach when it comes to strengthening culture of tolerance or promoting CCRL in our community. We give this space for each community in our region to interpret and to see it from the perspective of their own local culture. So I think back to your question, how important it is very important and it's very strategic. And I'm so looking forward to see where our diverse cultures in the region can bring forward the ASEAN's conception on CCRRL in the future. Thank you.
Bapak Aldrin.
Yeah. The role of culture in CCRL, I think, is very important because it is through rootedness in the culture where CCRL will have greater resonance and significance to those who are practicing it or implementing it. As CCRL cannot be imported from one place to another, I mean, it's like a plant that you cannot just simply uproot and then take it to another place, but you need to have it grow in your own backyard so that it will have more meaning to the people. And I think culture will help do that, and there's no other way, I think, that it will be more deeper, that it will be deeply significant to the people when it is not really cultural or contextualized, as we say it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pak Adam, please.
CCRL, I think, is more important now in this polarized world, where in many countries they are going into different direction. Communities, religions spread, pull people away. CCRL allow for the community to understand one another, respect one another, accept who you are, and work together. So I must say this CCRL is even more important now than before. Thank you.
Thank you very much our excellent speakers. Terima kasih banyak pembicara kita yang sangat luar biasa. Apabila saya boleh menyimpulkan mungkin bahwa dari presentasi 5 negara ini, CCRL ada yang masih konsep yang baru, ada yang sudah dijalankan, ada yang sudah masuk ke dalam kebijakan. Tapi kita juga bisa lihat bahwa dalam bahasa Inggris, CCRL is acceptable, doable, and achievable in Southeast Asia. Terima kasih. Please give applause to our excellent speakers.